All right, great.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to AR101. It's Doug from AR.Watch, and we are here with Warrior to talk about packing your bins, packing your packs, just general packing for adventure racing. We've got some awesome special guests with Jesse Tubb and Hunter, which everyone knows. And of course, we have Jeff. So we're going to kick it to him first so we can talk about all things that are going on in Warrior.
All right, all things going on Warrior. Well, that's pretty good. So, we just got the medals in today for Alaska, and because the Olympics are coming up, we decided to go full Olympic gold medals for everybody that finishes Alaska, and it's huge. I mean, look at my head compared to it.
And you have a huge head, so
Yeah,
that is
so that is a big ass medal, and it's like solid gold. So if you complete the race, you get that sucker. After 5 days in Alaska, you deserve a medal that large.
A solid gold disc that size will pay for a quarter of your entrance fee.
That's what paid for it. But I love the fact that it represents all the different locations of the race and stuff on the medal. You'll see that in more detail when you get there. Speaking of Alaska, so we're going to leave next week, and actually we're driving all the way to Alaska with the gear and everything for that race. We're going to be there a week early to get everything set up. There's been a lot of questions about gear and equipment and so forth. You're going to see another email out on Friday. The racers who have signed up, kind of clarifying a lot of the rope issues, the glacier issues. A lot of people are nervous about the glaciers. Hunter and I scoped out the glaciers. It's gonna be epic. It's gonna be exciting. It doesn't look to be that difficult at all to cross those glaciers. So don't worry too much about it. And again, always in that particular race, it's optional. When it comes to everything else towards the end of the year, we have a lot of things happening. As soon as we get back from there, late August, we have the Bear, which is going on its 11th year in Blairsville. So it's going to be a really unique race. The fact that I'm busing you out of town. Well, I'm not going to tell you where, but to a different location we've never started for in the Bear. So we're going to see some new terrain there. And then, of course, we dive into leaving the state of Georgia and heading down to Florida for 4 races in a row. We've got the Cauldron, the Turkey Burn, the Resolution, and the final C2C. So Warrior will be in the wintertime, will be all in Florida for 4 races back to back to back to back. So all those races are online. They're all open for registration. They're all available. So go online and set up that. When it comes to packing, I'd like to talk immediately about, Alaska, because there's been a lot of packing issues. Alaska has, you could be as hot as 80 degrees and you can be hyperthermia cold in a river, in an instant. So there's a lot of gear that is required, and you're going to need pretty much a very large backpack. Hunter and I, we had 80-liter, right? Hunter, backpacks, 80 to something.
Oh, for the TV show? Yeah.
The TV show.
Yeah.
And I mean, and we were maxed out. I mean, we had a lot of gear that was required on the show. And it's about the same thing as required now for Expedition Alaska. So you need something fairly big. Now, you're not going to have all the gear in there at any given point in time, but there are some legs where you will require all the gear to take with you. And so you're going to need as much room as possible. If you bring a smaller pack, all you're going to be doing is either giving it to somebody who's got a bigger pack to carry, or you're going to be hanging stuff off the outside of your bag, which is never a good idea in Alaska because everything grabs your bag. You want everything tight and compact. So we'll get into that later. Doug, let's talk about packing then.
Well, you were talking about tight and compact, and then you went to me, so I don't really know how that segued, because I am probably not that person.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, I wanted to do something a little different. As you can see, I'm not in the normal control center for AR101. I'm actually in my garage. This is my AR wall of shelving. I've got a couple bins behind me. And then we have Jesse Tubb, who is very experienced in adventure racing, and has done multi-day races and individual races. So Jesse, thanks for being here today. And then
Yeah, great to be here.
you got Hunter, who, I mean, he's done just about everything as well. And actually, both these two guys hold trainings where they help adventure racers learn how to pack and prepare for big races. Hunter does specific things, especially for C2C, which is fantastic. And I know many people that have used his videos to prepare for C2C. I am not one of them because I overpack and I don't want to hear Hunter tell me not to put stuff in my pack. So guys, I want to start kind of with you on, I really want to talk about wants versus needs, and how long it took you to get away from packing your wants, or if you still do.
Yeah, the biggest
Hunter-
thing we always say is you pack your fears. So for me, it's always like running out of water. So you'll see me carry more water than everybody else. And then if you have more fears, you pack more. Like, oh, I'm too afraid to get cold. So you're gonna pack like a bunch of change of clothes in your backpack, a bunch of water, a bunch of food, all these things. And it's like, if you don't have any fears, then you don't carry anything. You're butt ass naked out there. So that's one strategy. But
Totally
it's like
different race though.
yes, it is.
That's a beach in South Florida is where that race is.
Exactly. But I think almost any experienced racer you talk to, it's like every single race, they get less and less gear. When they start adventure racing, they're carrying these big backpacks and all this stuff that's also heavy. And then the more you race, you realize, okay, I don't need 3 change of socks. Okay. Then you go down to like lighter weight stuff. So like I'm on this kick now of like, I got my pack super small items wise, but now I got to focus on every single item being the lightest possible. So like even rain pants, normally it's like, okay, I'll carry rain pants, but now it's like, okay, how can I get rain pants for 2 ounces? It's those little things of like, the better racer you get and the more confident you are in your ability, the less stuff you can carry. So if you're not super confident in your abilities or you're afraid of running out of things, that's when you carry more stuff, which is totally acceptable. If you're starting out, I recommend carrying more than like Jesse and I carry or whatever, because then things go wrong. We know how to adapt and figure it out. If you're just new to the sport, your race could end because you listen to us be like, oh, don't carry anything. So carry what you feel comfortable with, but every race just try to remove one thing at a time.
Jesse, what about you?
Yeah, Hunter's whole premise is with the assumption that you actually are thinking and planning effectively beforehand. My go-to strategy early on was I didn't think a lot about what I needed, and not intentionally. I didn't know what I didn't know, and so I would bring like whole Starbucks mochaccino things. It's like, oh, I need some caffeine later on in the race, so I'll just bring one of those things and carry it for 20 hours. I was like, what am I doing? And I will say, for the first long time, I'm not even going to admit how many years this went on, because it still kind of goes on. I end up relying on my teammates a lot for things that I should have packed. So being really smart about what you need and like having a healthy dose of fear, I think is helpful. Sometimes maybe I don't have enough fear, and so enough intelligence to think about what I need out in the race course. I've gotten better about that. But yeah, I think what Hunter said is right on, that a lot of times you find lighter weight versions of the same things that you take early on.
Yeah, and I think for me, as I've gotten more experience with longer races, right? Like if we're talking a 12-hour race, you really just need like a replenishment of water and electrolytes and some food. Like you're not really having to focus too much on overnight change of weather, those kind of things to be in your bin or even in your pack, really. But when you're talking about multi-day events, I found that it's been very different on how I've packed. And as I've gotten more experience, I compartmentalize that a whole lot more, and prepare a little bit better ahead of time so that I'm not in that like, oh crap, I don't have what I need later. But then I go home with a bin full of crap that I didn't use anyway, but I had it just in case. And I'm sure a lot of people out there that are watching are in that same kind of realm. Hunter, you have a bin right there that is kind of prepared. Now, I want to do something early on in this, and I want you to show that, and then I'm going to show this bin that is still packed from last year's C2C. And just
Those peanut butter jelly sandwiches
Yeah,
probably
Jim.
real good.
I
The Big
mean,
Macs were taken out.
I got the food out sort of, but you'll see kind of, I just want to show the contrasting difference in your organization and maybe mine. So you go first.
Yeah, just to touch on one thing about like, it's very dependent on the race, as in like, I have a lot of experience with the C2C. So like preparing for that is different than preparing for even a big world championship race. Because the disciplines are put out before the race. You can really plan detailed. I spend so much time before the race. Once I get those race breakdowns, like analyzing every little section and knowing what I'm going to be taking on everything. So that's why like the bin is super important for that stuff. But to touch on what you were saying earlier about having everything just in case. A lot of people hear that and they're like, oh, I need everything just in case in my backpack. But for me, it's like, no, I have everything just in case inside the bin. I have the very minimal stuff in my backpack because if for C2C, like the sections are no more than 12 hours long. So if something goes wrong, I can just suck it up and push through it until the bin and then fix the problem there. Where if you're talking about more world championship races, more like Expedition Alaska, where some sections are more than 24 hours, that mindset doesn't really work. You need to carry some stuff in there just in case things go wrong. But so like for my bin for C2C, it's a lot of problem solving stuff in the bin and nothing else in my pack. So I'll take a peek here.
I think that's important to think about too. Like, you know, for C2C, like last year, I had specific bags that were per like discipline, right? So it was like, all right, I'm going to do this leg and I want this bag for that. Then I had another bag that was for the second leg, you know, as you prepare for things. But then I got to the end and I had like 3 bags that I didn't even crack open that were just like taking up space and then hurting the volunteers that are having to move that around, or me as I'm tired in the TA and not wanting to take it over to the truck. But all right, you go to.
I think it's way better to have a lot of stuff after the race. Like for me, I pack so much food in my bin, and after the race, I have probably half that food still there. Because for a race like C2C, I eat so much of the TAs that my dad are providing, but it's better to have stuff just in case. Like I see some people like, it's kind of like a brag at the beginning of C2C, like, oh yeah, my bin's only 20 pounds. It's like, you should fill that with 20 pounds of extra stuff just in case something goes wrong. Like it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
So my organization, it's pretty simple and it's about the same for every single race. So I see like basically 2 groups of people packing their bin. Either the one that just throws everything in, it's a complete mess, or the ones like Dustin Branton does a great job of organizing the bin, like with individual little cubs, like cubes and containers and all these things separated. So it's really organized, labeled. I find like a hybrid approach works for me. And a lot of it is, I guess that's a good view, is in these like bags. So I have a whole bag of clothes in here. And how I organize the clothes on top. One thing is these bags, why I do this is you can just remove. So if I know I need to change clothes, I just take this out, put that on the ground, and my bin's good to go. Like I can just work on this. I don't have to dig through anything. If I want food, I just take this whole bag out. So just touch on how I organize my clothes. Again, like a race like C2C, you need a wide variety of clothes too, because it could be super hot or really cold at night. So I have a bunch of different options, but it's crazy to C2C. Like last year I raced it, I stayed in the same outfit the entire race. Like I never changed bike shorts or shirt or anything. And I had this entire thing filled with clothes and I never touched it, but it was good to have it because how I organize the clothes is basically what I know I need the most often. So at the very bottom is like change of underwear and change of shorts, because for me, I usually just race in bike shorts. But on the top, I have like change of socks because I change my socks like every TA. I have a rain jacket, I have gloves, I have a hat on top that are easily, you can just grab and go. That's about it for that. I would say just rolling up everything, it does help. Like rolling up your shirts into little tubes and putting them in so you can organize it better. And then I have like change of shoes.
While you're talking about clothes, so I've got this other camera here that I'm going to show people some things. We're fancy here. And one of the things that I did like in this last C2C, like this was my paddle warm bag. So it had like a warmer paddle, like pants, and it had a long sleeve shirt and things like that. And as we saw at C2C this year, like a lot of people got really cold in the overnight because that was like that. Now I had this in my bin and if I wouldn't have grabbed it ahead of time, like look, I think I actually had it in my paddle bag, but I had it labeled like specifically, and then I had each bag kind of labeled with the transition, so I could also see what was in there, and if I got there and I needed something additional for that section, I could grab it out of there.
Exactly. I love that. And I'll touch on what I do with my clothes in the bag, but I have, again, this big blue bag is just all my clothes. I guess I'll touch on the food next. Is for, again, a race that gives a breakdown beforehand, you have a huge advantage. So what I do is I pre-pack every single Ziploc. So let's say the first transition area, I get off the track and I go on to a 100-mile bike ride. I have it pre-packed all my food for, say 100 miles takes me 10 hours. I eat about 300 calories an hour. So that's 3,000 calories I need. So beforehand, the week before, when I'm in my house, I can do the math and pre-pack 3,000 calories in a Ziploc like this. Take a Sharpie, label it leg 2. So when I come to TA, all I have to focus on is just grabbing this out, and I could basically take off immediately. I don't even have to worry about like packing this or finding my food. Or the thing for me when I first started racing was I would come into TA and be like craving sugar and just eat all this sugar and pack that on the next track. And then halfway through, I'm like, man, I didn't pack any salt or any protein or anything. And I would bonk and drop out of race, whatever. So I think pre-packing everything so you make sure you have the right macros and everything and the calories is very key. And what I do with this is, let's say that I am going off on a bike leg. I take these Ziplocs that's already pre-packed with food. And this is what I do basically a day before the race when I see the weather, is I start planning out like, okay, I'm going to be on a bike leg. I'm going to need to change my socks. I'm going to need a pair of gloves, and I put gloves in here. I'm going to need maybe some pain relief like muscle rub. I'll put some Tiger Balm in here. So I have this all in one bag, the food, the gear, the clothes. So when I come in the transition here, I just grab this and go. And that usually like 9 out of 10 times, that's all I have to do at transition is just grab this and go. But if like, oh, I'm really craving this one food, I basically have a catch-all trash bag of all my miscellaneous food that I might want. Like, oh, I'm really craving pretzels right now. So I just grab some pretzels and put them in my backpack, or granola bar. And again, that's the same premise with this blue bag of clothes. I kind of just a catch-all just to grab a hat and put that in. But again, 90% of the time, I'm just grabbing this, not thinking of anything when I come in the transition besides grab this and go. So.
And see, that's all. So I haven't watched any of your stuff for your like preparation stuff, but I almost have the same thing because so I got lucky, and 2 years ago when I drove back with Spangler, and he was amazing and like shared so much information with me that it was almost overload, but I took a lot from it. And one of those things was prepping a bag, right? So food. I don't know how old those oatmeal pies are, but I'm probably not going to try eating them at this point. But I've got like electrolyte stuff. I've got like regular food, sweet stuff that I will like, and salty stuff in that bag. So hearing you say that is awesome. And then I also have like a catch-all bag in my bin that has a bunch of other like electrolyte stuff. If I feel like I need more salt or electrolytes, I can just grab an extra one and throw it in my pack, like in a top pocket. Jesse, how do you differentiate from that at all?
So the only thing that I'll say that's different from what you guys have both said is if you're sharing a bin, because there are times where you don't have your own bin. For some reason, the last few races, they've had space so you can have your own bin, and it's luxurious. You have all this room to just put everything you want in there, right?
Yeah.
So what I've done, and I actually stole this from Jason Erskvik, is I got the 5-gallon Ziploc bags, and every person has their own 5-gallon bag that's inside a bin. And so it's labeled, and so you can take out your bag for that bin, and then it has all of your gear in there, and it just separates out all 4 teammates' gear. But yeah, having clear bags for me, like the grocery bags are great, and it's great for the environment. And Hunter, I appreciate you doing that. And for me, the clear bags, even with the catch-all bags, for me is better because then I'm not having to. I can see through the bag and I can grab things a lot quicker.
Well, and Jesse Spangler also turned me onto these last year, which are these smelly proof bags that are 2-gallon Ziploc, so they stay dry and are easy to seal back and forth. I actually use it for a mat bag as well. You can use rubbing alcohol, take the writing off the front, and use this as a mat bag.
Wow.
But so that's, yeah, I love the being able to see through it because, and this last year at C2C, that first night when it rained like crazy, I remember Anna was saying that her bin was open and she came back and literally like had nothing that was dry. And like, if you don't prepare for that in your bag or in your bin,
She had a crack on the top because she sat on her bin and it cracked it.
yeah,
Oh, you need to duct tape that shit right up right away or fix it or whatever, because yeah, you're gonna get a flood in there.
yeah.
No, but I think, Jesse, what you're saying about the clear bag, that's always been kind of a problem with my system of the food. I'm fine with that in a big bag, but my clothes wise, if I don't have this super organized, I'm like, oh, I wear my socks and I have to just dig through it all. It would be nice to have a clear bag. So I would definitely take that as an upgrade.
See, look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Even
They're learning.
people are learning as we're doing this, like how we do it. Speaking of duct tape, as you can see on my bins, like you will know where my bin is from all angles, everywhere you are. I highly recommend doing that.
I love it. There's a few things on my bin that I could still show later on. I only got about half of it, so.
Oh yeah,
Can you put that link to that smelly proof bag?
yeah.
on
We'll throw it in here afterwards.
Yeah.
I'll show you kind of what that looks like with the maps too, because it cleans off pretty easily. And I mean, this is a map from the last race that I did, and you can see like really easy through everything. It keeps it dry, it seals. I had this on the water and got no water in it or anything, so it works. It's a multi.
Are you drawing on the outside of the bag or on the
No,
map?
that was on my map.
Okay.
Don't mind my map stuff. That's, you just mind your
That
business.
was pretty. That was pretty.
I don't know how you get lost. There's so much detail there.
Drew pictures and
Listen, there was all kinds of stuff in there, and this is the race that I just did with my boys, and so I needed to make sure I knew what we were looking for without having to pull out a bunch of stuff because I was having to juggle them more. But anyway,
So my point with the smelly bag is that I'd really like to put that on as a link because I had a meeting with the Forest Service in Alaska. So you know that we've always talked about like paddle bags. Don't put any open food in a paddle bag. It's always been a thing. And then even at C2C, we've had some problems where people put bins down on ant towels. And if they had an open peanut butter and jelly sandwich in there, they come back from a trek, there's ants all in there. We've had that problem. We've had raccoons, we've had mice, we've had all kinds of little things. The problem with Alaska is you leave an open peanut butter and jelly sandwich in your bin, the bears will take that away. They're not even going to bother just going through it. They're going to take the entire bin and drag it into the woods and destroy everything. So they were really concerned about all of the bins stacked up, at TAs, or just laying out everywhere for the bears to come in, because they'll just come in anywhere. So now we have to have like a protocol for bins at the TA. And if you leave smelly stuff out, we do it all the time. We just eat a Snickers bar and just throw the wrapper in without throwing the trash away or whatever, or half of an eaten bar is the worst. So I'd like to get that link in there so that the racers have a better understanding of how to pack that bin.
yeah, we'll make sure that we put it in the comments here at the end. Let's kind of shift gears a little bit and go to the packs. And Jesse, I'll start with you. My pack is definitely heavier than both of yours probably combined. Because I do not know how to pack light, and I also pack for my fear, which is dehydration. Rightfully so, right, Jeff? So I have like a ton of water and like a bunch of other things that are super heavy. I don't know how you guys carry the limited amount of hydration that you do, and I really want to learn from that, because my pack, I have the 3-liter that's in my pack, and then I usually have like 2 at least 24-ounce bottles that I carry with other electrolyte stuff. So how do you maintain your hydration? That's my first question.
Yeah, I mean that's everybody sweats differently, right? Everybody has a different sweat rate, and depending on the temperature and the exertion level, I mean, it's a completely individual issue. And knowing your own sweat rate, like Hunter also mentioned too, that he goes through a lot of water. I tend not to go through a lot of water, so it's not as big of a deal for me. I will say I'm not advocating this as a healthy training option, but there was a period early on where I was actually training undernourished and underhydrated to try to train my body for adventure racing. That was a terrible idea. So don't do that. But yeah, I think just knowing your body and having the proper purification system um, and knowing the route. So talking to the navigator, if you're not navigating, talking to the navigator to understand where the next water source is. When we did Worlds in Wyoming, we started out in the Tetons and we were up in the ridge for a long time, and the navigator didn't tell us. It wasn't made clear to the rest of the team that we were going to be hiking for a really long time, and we all ran out of water except him because he filled up a lot of water. But like,
Right.
you need to let us know, like, hey, we're going to be on the ridge for another 10 hours, like prepare accordingly. So I think that's maybe a race strategy, is just if you are a heavy sweater and you have a heavy water usage or need, talking to the navigator, like, hey, where's the next water source? Where are our next possible water sources? Because obviously on the map, it'll show some creeks, and not all the creeks are can actually be there. So have a contingency plan. But I think that's also a strategy. So you're not carrying 12 pounds of water.
Yeah, because I mean, just
unnecessarily.
pack is so heavy, right? And then
Yeah.
if I could do a 1 liter and then prioritize like water stops to refill, then I could probably do a little bit better with that. And so I don't know how you guys do it, because like I see you guys' pack. I mean, my pack right now literally has nothing in it, and I guarantee you it weighs more than what you guys like packs do. And I have nothing in mine right now, and I guarantee it's already bigger than yours. I mean,
giant can of sunscreen. What is that for?
so that was because I had my kids with me, but I do have a bunch of snacks in the back here because I like to eat, clearly. But all right, Jesse, talk about your pack, and then I'll just see if there's things that I can take out of mine.
Well, so to Hunter's, or maybe the original question of wants versus needs, like understanding really what is a need. And I just laid out here some of the things that I always keep in my pack that I have found to be helpful at some time or another. So I'll just turn my camera around here if I can figure out how to do that. There we go. All right, so this is a super lightweight pad that doubles as like a sleeping pad.
Wait, who is sleeping on that? You're like 6'2". Who is sleeping on that little pad?
The only things that you need to be supported are your pressure points, either your hips or your shoulders.
Yeah.
Right. So this is my pillow. It's an inflatable pillow, super comfortable, and this doubles as a canoe seat cushion or a kayak seat cushion, or it doubles as like a shoulder or hip pad. But again, I mean, this thing weighs almost nothing. I don't carry this a lot, but I know that if we're going to be sleeping or on a long trek or bike ride, I'll bring this with me.
What
These straps.
What distance of race are we packing for right now?
Oh yeah, I guess that's a good question. This is more for the longer races. Yeah, I would say the things that I'm putting in here are for the expedition races that I've done that I feel like I needed to pack extra stuff. Not for like a 24-hour race. I wouldn't be packing that. So great question, Hunter. So these Volley, I'm butchering the name. Those straps are amazing. Not super heavy, but very versatile. We ended up, when Abby broke her thumb in Expedition Oregon, and we had to take her bike apart and put it on our packs. I was literally able to put her frame on my Hyperlate pack just with those two straps. So super durable, super versatile, and you just never know when you're going to need to strap something to a pack. And I just found that those were really helpful. This is a bungee tow rope that can double. I mean, there's a lot of uses for this. You can tie kayaks together or boats together. If if someone needs a tow or whatever. But it's, again, pretty lightweight and pretty easy. Put it on a carabiner so anybody can put it on their pack. So we're not I generally suggest that we don't have to have more than one of these tow ropes for trekking. So if one person's carrying it, then you can just easily click it onto a backpack and carry it.
And
This is
talk about your Hyperlight real quick, because that
My
is your Hyperlight pack.
Yeah.
So that pack is different than a lot of packs, because it doesn't have like an internal place for a bladder, right?
It does.
Oh, it
So
does?
you look in here, there's a little pouch or a little webbing for the bladder, but that's the only internal pocket, right? So it's just basically just a cabin,
Okay.
right? And if I had to do this over it again, I think I would do the mesh instead of the solid. The reason why I did the solid was because I knew that I'd be bushwhacking with it and the mesh would just tear. So this is fine. But again, going back to the bin concept, being able to see what's in here, because sometimes I ask my teammates to reach back there and they have to rifle through versus being able to see it and just reach right in there. And then I have, the two pouches on the front for food and whatever else. And so this actually goes to something else. This goes along with one of my other my needs. So that's for Peter Joel's, who passed away a couple years ago. This for me is a need. It actually, there's a rock in here that's carved with the word love. But it's a handkerchief of my aunt that passed away, some love letters, some letters of sentiment from my family when I did Eco Challenge. And so I always carry this with me as a reminder of my why. So if my pack feels heavy or, my legs feel heavy, I know that I'm carrying them with me. So for me, that's a need, not a want.
I have the same thing. I have a picture of my family and
Awesome.
my boys.
Yeah.
So when I start wussing out, I think, what would my boys think? And then I definitely think, what would my wife think? Because she would definitely kick me in the ass.
I've been carrying
Nice.
my Y for 16 years now. This guy right here has been on my pack every time. It's my good luck
Oh,
charm.
nice.
Have a Y,
What is it?
everybody. Have a Y. Because if
Have a Y.
Yeah. So this is a pack of sort of essential backup pieces, right? So there's some zip ties, there's some duct tape, sports tape, the waterproof matches, a little bit of butt chamois, Alka-Seltzer, which anybody's stomach can go sour pretty quickly. There's a knife, obviously money. I will say I've started carrying a credit card. I'll just share a quick story. I know we're maybe short on time a little bit. During Eco Challenge, the last leg, the last canoe leg, we got stuck on that dark zone, and we were stranded on Serenity Island, which is a honeymoon island. And we had the option of either sleeping on the beach, which was kind of cold and miserable, or we could have stayed in the resort. There was one room left, and Caitlin had a credit card, and that got us in. So the last night of the world's toughest race, we were suffering on Serenity Island.
Suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. So we walked into the dining room in the robes, because that's the only clean clothes we had, and everybody was looking at it, the four of us, going like, "What kind of honeymoon is this? This one girl, three guys. What's going on?"
You were it's not sister wives, it's bro husbands or something.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So anyway, always carry some sort of money or cash, because you, like Jeff, I guess this is maybe the pre-recording we were talking about at C2C. You never know when you're going to find a store or something. What's that?
Yes.
Oh no, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
and
I'm seeing another big difference in your pack and my pack. All right, so I want you to just hold your pack up in your hand.
what's that?
The size of it.
But what's
He
that?
doesn't have it packed yet.
This is my pack. That has the same essentials in it, but
Yeah.
this is a gallon size bag. That I'm like,
Well, you have a first aid kit in there. That's
I do care for the team, but like,
yeah.
Still, I'm looking for, like, I only host these because I want to learn. And so like I'm learning from you guys as well. So I just want to point that out because a lot of us out there probably have something like this that has your essential, like race mandatory stuff in it. And all of us look at you guys who are in these super light packs and you're like, how are they carrying all the same stuff that I'm carrying? And not violating rules. So that is why, ladies and gentlemen, because this big and mine is this big. I mean,
Well, I think the start of the C2C, Hunter is going to go to your bin, and it's like an episode of The Hoarders. He's just going to go, you don't need this, you don't need that, you don't need you need only half that. Here,
Yeah.
take this. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah. No, so that's
Nice.
funny. I mean, it shows the difference, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's all different types of levels, though, too. I mean, you're talking about two winners of races. These guys go out and they're out for the win. So they are strategically packing for the win. You don't have to do exactly what they're doing. But again, if you have to pack your fears, also remember you have 3 other teammates or 2 other teammates. If you got to have something, at least get it off your pack and put it in theirs. I put so much shit in Hunter's. Oh my God, I make him carry it because I know he's faster than I am and he can handle it. So Katie Farragon was the absolute worst at Eco Challenge. She packed her fear. She had 5 pairs of underwear, 6 pairs of socks, all this stuff like that. She had so much crap in her backpack that it stood over her head by about a foot. And ultimately, in the end, we split up that load so she could move faster. So think about that before you pack as well.
Yeah, we did a training thing here last winter, and there was probably 6 or 7 of us. And I remember putting on my pack, and Dave Ashley looked over and he's like, "What do you have in that?" And this was for like a training, and it was, it's way up here, and I'm like, I don't know, I just have warm weather stuff, or because it was cold.
And that's what to touch on what my dad said too, and what Jesse was saying is like for me when I show up for races, like if it's less than a C2C or less, I'm carrying absolutely nothing in my pack, just mandatory gear, food, and water, and I leave all this extra space for my teammates to like throw stuff in there. So like I'm always the one carrying the team mandatory gear. I'm always the one that can like, since I have such a small vest, I could just take somebody else's backpack, put it on. So it's those type of things where like I leave space for other people, where like I've gotten my necessary like wants and needs down to almost nothing. So I'm able to carry more stuff for other people.
Yeah, and to that point, I'll just show this. Depending on the leg or the length of the race, I'll use this running vest. I can put all the mandatory gear in here and carry something super light. So depending on, and I'll even bring that for an expedition race if we know that there's a short leg. I'll transfer all my mandatory gear into that, so I'm not lugging that thing around. And then the last thing I'll sort of point out, because these are the standard dry bags, right? Everybody has those. It's generally good to have a dry bag that you can fit your entire pack in if you ever swim. What I've started doing is actually carrying a contractor garbage bag and 2 of these grocery bags. And this is like the Ron Anglin special, right? So you take this, and I ended up using this in Expedition Ozark. I put them on my hands over my gloves, and that ended up being the wind resistance that I needed because my hands and feet were soaked, and we were biking, and they were just freezing. And I've also put them inside my shoes, so they've been great foot warmers and hand warmers, and they're super lightweight. They weigh nothing. And I've used this contractor bag literally as a jacket. I poked holes to the side and for my head and just wear it. And it's an amazing space blanket. So again,
I love those tips because like I work with this one company that sells like super ultralight like wind jackets and everything. It's like it's $150 for the same thing for a wind jacket, and then the mittens that I have, which weigh like a quarter of an ounce, are like $80. So it's like just get trash bags. That at least gets 90% of the way there.
Well, that last night at C2C this year, like it got really cold, and I slept over on the beach for like 30 minutes in a really flimsy like space blanket. And I got up and I was like, if I take this off right now and start biking along the coast here, I'm gonna freeze. So I literally I took my jacket off, I put it on underneath, and then put the jacket on over top. And now I had wind resistance, warmth, that it was keeping my warmth in. And I got over to the beach with all that stuff on. I was like, now I feel better. And the sun came up and it was a little bit better. So like, it's those little things that I just happened to like, I was like, thank God I had this in the bottom of my pack
Yeah.
because it kept me warm.
And that little thing has saved my dad's life, those little space blanket things of just like hiking with stuff. And honestly, during the Florida Trail, I want to believe it was the Florida Trail. One of the mornings I was alone in the swamp. It was super cold. I was drenched sweat and I was completely soaked from swimming too. And I took one of those space blanket things and poked my hands through them and I put it on underneath my shirt and my jacket. And like, I truly think it saved my life out there. Like if I didn't have that, I would have been so hypothermic. So having those trash bags is like, I'm going to add that to my list. Thank you, Jesse. See, I'm learning so much right here. It's
That's
great.
what we're here for. That's what we're here for. We've talked about bins and we've talked about bags. I want to talk a little bit about taking some of that weight off and putting it on your bike. Do you guys have bags for your bikes that you guys do that with? Like I've got a couple. Like I've got this Rock Brothers one that I can put up here. I have another Rock Brothers one that I used to keep right here, but then I put another hydration system. So usually I've been putting it in the back. Don't make fun of my seat, by the way.
Wait, is
I
that
know. Now you said it.
So
What on earth?
what?
this seat is called the V seat. Some of you might have seen it.
We're not going to say what that V stands for.
If you watch Shark Tank, you might have seen that. I actually got a chance to meet the owners of VC and the inventors of VC a while ago, and they've sent them, and I've had it and hadn't used it. And then I watched the Shark Tank episode again, and I just saw it. And I was like, you know what? I'm throwing it on the bike. I'm going to try it out. You just use your sit bones. You don't use the other stuff. And I'm going to see how it works. So I'll keep you posted on that.
That's cool.
But yeah, so I take a lot of the weight off, like all the mandatory stuff that you have to have for the bike. I leave it on the bike so that I'm not carrying it around on me, and I'm just have it on the bike. And then I also keep a bigger filtering system in here as well, just in case.
Now that's good for alternative in your pack. But again, if you allow yourself more storage, you're gonna put more shit in it that you don't need.
That's true.
So I don't like putting anything on my bike just for that number one reason. If it doesn't fit on my back, because that's just, oh, look, I've got all this extra space. Let's put more food. You don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mindset with the bike packing thing, I guess I kind of got scarred by using those because during World Championships ages ago, my dad had this genius idea to try out this new bike packing setup at the race, not before training. So he had this big metal bike rack thing on the back, and it broke. And then I had to carry that 20-pound thing the entire 150-mile bike ride. So I got scarred from that. But like the bike bag things, the only thing I've ever put on my bike was just like one little thing up front for my food, so I can easily grab it. But like I haven't raced with those in like 3 years or so. I find it takes too much time to like take things out of your pack and put it in on your bike and get it all set up. And then when you get to the transition area, you have to take all that stuff out and put it away. I don't know. I just like having everything in my backpack. Unless I have this massive heavy backpack, then it might be nice to switch weight on there. But also with a lot of bushwhacking, putting a lot of weight on your bike,
Now you're having to lift
you're
it.
carrying like a lot more weight. When it's like on your back, it's fine. But when you have to lift every single time with that bike and handling on single track, you're losing a little bit of handling ability. So I don't do anything on my bike, but I know almost everybody else does. So I might be wrong about that.
Jesse, what about you? Do you do that?
Yeah, I'll say yes to everything that Hunter just said. I'll just double down on a lot of what he said, because when we did Eco Challenge, we all bought these Revenant Designs, huge saddlebags, and the idea was that we would put all our mandatory gear in our shoes and everything in there, and it took so much time to transfer gear. The only time I've seen it effective. So the other problems that I've seen with, especially with those larger saddlebags, is that they can get so heavy that they rub against the wheel. And so when I raced C2C with
With
the
me.
team. Yes, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, with you and some other people, there was an issue with the saddlebag, with that huge saddlebag rubbing against the rear tire, and so we had to stop multiple times in order to address that issue. So in that instant, it caused way more issues than any savings it would have saved with weight. The only time I've seen it effective is if you have a modular system where you have all your mandatory gear in you put everything, all the Mando gear in this dry bag. You take that dry bag out of your pack and you shove it in here, then that works super effectively. I've recently gone to strictly flat pedals instead of clipless. The other thing that some people do is they put their shoes in the saddlebags so that if there's a hike a bike section or whatever, that they can have their shoes in there. But again, that's just it's a lot of trouble for not a lot of payoff. I do put a bento box on the front with a little drink holder, but I just shove it full of food.
Yeah,
And I try to put as much. I try to. Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah.
And then this is a good alternative if you don't want clip-ins. It's the power grips.
Yeah.
So flat, and you can still put your foot in. So you can get some of the benefit of having that upward pull for your wattage.
I think in a nutshell, does a small little pouch up front for easy access for food really fast is about all you need. Again, Hunter and I spent $100 each on those pouches that for World Championships. We threw them away in the dumpster. So I just threw away $200 in the middle of the race just because I didn't want to deal with it anymore. It was rubbing on the tires. It was going sideways. And no matter how I tightened it, it just single track beat it up. So in the end, I think it's just the smallest pouch possible, because if you take shit out of your pack to put it on your bike, you're going to see that you have more room in your pack, and you're just going to end up having the weight anyways.
Yeah, this year I've had this on the back of my seat for C2C, and there were several times where the tire would hit when you go over like big bumps, and I was like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah. Especially with dropper seat posts now.
Yeah, that's ruined.
Yeah. A lot of people have dropper seat posts, so it kind of eliminates even the ability to put those on the back of your bike. There was a solo racer, I won't name him, but a few years ago that did the C2C, and he had a whole bike packing setup. So like all the pouches and all the storage that when he came to TA, he had to unload his entire backpack and put it inside his bike. So he had no vest or anything on, but it took him like after 20 minutes in transition before and after. So that's 40 minutes to make up. It just wasn't worth it. We're talking about it, but yeah. So I don't think bike bags are.
Doug, from experience of being in all the TAs, I think that the number one thing that teams argue about is hurry up, let's go, pack that, shut that bin lid, put those bins on the truck, and let's go. All of the arguments in TAs are people that haven't packed well and their teammates are waiting. That's always the biggest argument. So knowing, Hunter, talk about timing on packing too when you get into a TA. Talk about that.
So okay, I'll finish showing my bin.
Okay.
Which
But
is,
again,
and then I'll show my crap in there.
I think the most important thing with any bin is, again, planning it all beforehand. You have weeks before the race to really fine tune everything. Usually like races, the race breakdown sent out the week before for the C2C. Some races, it's way in advance. Like I spend so many hours meticulously planning on every single section of like how much food I need for this section, how much water I need, how much clothes, and if I'm going to need Tiger Bomb, if I'm going to need chain lube, all this stuff pre-planned beforehand. So during the race, I don't want to have any thinking. So the main thing I do is on the front cover, the inside flap of my bin lid is I tape the race breakdown, and any of my spreadsheets I make or documents I do is all right here. So when I open the bin, I put this on the ground and I can just read out leg one. I'll put a link in the description to my course breakdown. It's a free video that shows how I make the spreadsheets, but it basically tells me exactly what to do when I come in the transition area. So I don't have to think when I'm sleep deprived on day 2. I just come in, read this. It says, okay, grab Ziploc number 5. I'll take that out. Okay, 3 liters of water I need to fill up. Okay, and that's it. I don't really have to think about anything else, and I can just go. A lot of people come into transition areas when they're super sleepy, open their bin, and they're like, the death stare, like, oh,
What is that? Yeah, you're
what do
just
I do? Like, there's so much to grab, there's so much to think about, and then you almost always forget something out there. If you don't have a pre-plan, you get there and you grab all this stuff and realize you only packed sugar. You forgot a change of socks. All these things can go wrong if you don't have a pre-plan. So I think a lot of the work is beforehand, not so much during the race. But just to finish, how I organize the bin here is, again, one bag is clothes. This bag is all food, all in the individual Ziplocs. And then change of shoes, they can just pop on the top. One big thing that a lot of people don't really take into account is, what do you do with your dirty clothes and dirty shoes and stuff like that? So I always throw a trash bag in there, preferably the big contractor bag that Jesse was showing is perfect. Just throw all your dirty shoes and dirty clothes, and that lays on top of your bin. So when you open your bin, you just take that out and throw it on the ground, out of your way, nothing gets dirty, stays organized. I always have some sort of like shoebox or a container that's sealed up, but this is basically all my lights and any like, I call it my repair box. So anything that goes wrong on my bike, on my gear, on my body, like, okay, I'm having this really bad knee pain. Okay, I need some Tiger Balm. I need a little bit of lube or stuff like that, all in this one box. So I can just take this out and grab everything there. Last thing is my sleeping system of having basically me. I just do basically sleeping pad. This is 12 ounces, doesn't take up much weight, easily blow up. Sometimes I even have one of the electric pumps and I can blow this up in 10 seconds. And then I sleep in TAs just with the emergency blanket. So I have one of those big Soul emergency blankets inside my bin. I don't carry it with me, except the mandatory space blanket we usually have to do, but keep that in there, have a sleep system in there. And what I do is, if my bin is only 35 pounds, I fill it all with pre-made drink mixes. So pre-made bottles of water. This is really just to save like 30 seconds in transition area. But for me, it's mentally just be able to like instantly grab all entire drink mix that's pre-calculated the right amount. And I can just grab this and put it in my pack. So in theory, in transition areas, like some C2Cs, like my transition's under 30 seconds, even on like day 2, because I just come in, grab 2 water bottles, grab my Ziploc that's already pre-labeled, and I close it up, and I could start hiking immediately and pack this all in my backpack while I'm going. So it's like, that's hard to plan out, but it's, again, a lot of it comes beforehand of planning everything out.
Well, all right, let me show you the contrast. So this is mine. And there actually is a method to the madness, whether you believe that or not. So like this emergency blankets, I've got a couple. I have like blister stuff, and then I have like extra snack foods. My little sleep thing, so eye mask and ear things. Then I had extra duct tape. Like, I've got so much crap in here that I don't need.
It looks like you went trick-or-treating, like an adventure racing trick-or-treating, and you took your bin and you just collected everything from every house and just threw it in there.
I mean,
Yeah.
Is that true?
Why is there an old Pop-Tart in there?
That's scary.
So yeah, I mean, obviously I need to work on that.
But that's the thing, like, I've done the C2C 9 times, and the first like 6 times, it was a complete mess. Like, you have an organized bin when you drop it off at the start race, and then like by day 2, everything's just scattered. You got dirty clothes everywhere, your food's everywhere. That's why having a system of like, again, those clear bags Jesse was talking about, that's gonna be my upgrade. But like for me, just having separate containers that I know I just grab this out, keep it separated, and grab my clothes, grab my food out, and keep that separated. So it's, at the end of the race, my bin looks exactly the same as it did beforehand.
Well, guys, listen, we're getting close to the end. Give your most important piece of packing advice for multi-day events.
Wow. Well, I want to go back to the timing. Communication with your teammates, especially now, Doug, that you have teammates. When you guys come into transition, have a plan of what you're going to be doing in that transition. All agree that, because I might think I'm going to go take a poo, and then I'm going to change my clothes. I'm going to go take a dip in the water, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to eat something, and then I'm going to go through my bin, whatever. If you guys have a plan, again, all of the arguing is NTAs has to do with 2 people having their bins open, still doing stuff, and the other 2 are on their bikes ready to go. So if you communicate and go, hey, listen, in 5 minutes, we're going to be wrapped up, bins closed, bins on the truck and out of here. That communication with your teammate prior to the race, go through what you all think is a good plan. And then when you come to TAs, have a plan of attack with those bins is the most crucial information I can give you.
And I think, yeah.
Just as a follow-up on that, I will say at Warrior races, plan for an additional 5 minutes to eat some of the food that the volunteers make at the TAs. Now, in most races, you don't want to eat in the TAs. You want to eat, grab it, move, eat on the road as you're going. And you can do that at C2C too. You can ask them to wrap in tinfoil and take it with you, but you're going to want to capitalize on the food at Warrior races. So
And I think the most important thing out of all this is, again, what my dad was what he was talking about is the mindset going into transition, like had to switch for me, as in like, it was always like, oh, transition areas is time to take a break and to rest and like to regroup. And it's like just mentally switching it from like, not so much like, oh, I got to race to the next transition area, but like continuously race the whole time. That the transition areas aren't breaks for the most part, unless your team is like sleeping there. It shouldn't be a break in my eyes. It should be take a break on the next leg. If you're really struggling in this trek, when you get on the bike, that could be your break from the trek. So it's like that mindset of like not so much spending time in the transition area, but also talking beforehand. Again, what my dad was saying about talking through everything you're gonna be doing beforehand. So like my team always, the 20 minutes before the transition area, we start talking about what we're gonna be doing at the transition area. As soon as we get the last checkpoint, our entire focus is on what are we going to do when we get out of this paddle? So we're talking through, okay, Hunter, I got to go take my shoes off. I got to, just break down every single step and keep rehearsing it in your mind. So when you get to the transition area, it's like robotic. You don't have to think about anything. You just do exactly what you've been rehearsing in your head, and you know what your team's doing too. So for me at the C2C, like I seem to be pretty fast in transition compared to other people. So I have time to finish all my stuff, put my bin up on the U-Haul, and then I can go back and help all my teammates. If my navigator needs help, I'm over there basically doing everything for him, filling the water, not changing his clothes, but like changing his shoes and stuff, like so he can focus on the maps. So that type of teamwork needs to be important too. Even if you're faster than everybody else, doesn't mean you can transition fast and then just sit around and talk to the volunteer staff, which I do talk to the volunteer staff, but it's always helping my teammates as fast as I can.
Jesse, what about you, buddy?
So one thing I'll just tag on to what Jeff and Hunter just said is that if you are on your bike and your teammate is still rifling through their bin, then you're the one that's wrong.
Yes.
Because you're the one that didn't ask for what you could do to help them. So it's yes, it is prudent, or it's on the person who is maybe slower to ask for help. But if you are quick at transition, like Hunter said, and he asks what he can do to help, like that is what being a good teammate is asking what you could do to help your teammates get through transition faster. My one piece of packing advice, and something that I'm still struggling with, is I tend to have a failure of imagination. When I'm sitting comfortably on my couch trying to imagine what it's going to be like in the worst moments of the race, I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine, right? Yeah, I'll get through it. I got through it last time. And then I'm going through the worst part of the race. I'm like, why the hell did I not put that thing in my pack? And so really, like, as vividly as you can, imagine the worst moment of the race. Know that, there's a 24-hour trekking section and you're going to be possibly cold. How are you going to feel? What are you going to wish that you had in that moment, and have that in your pack? Let that be the guide. So yeah, your fear. There you go, Hunter. Like what Hunter said, use your fear. Let your fear be the guide for what you put in your pack within reason.
Yeah. And it's also not just your own fear, as in like, there's a big difference between my mindset of packing for a solo race compared to a team race. If I'm racing solo, like I'm willing to put my body in the line and like carry nothing. And like, if things go wrong, I know I could just go faster and get to the transition area. But if I have teammates, I can't just max heart rate, push as hard as I can and hope my teammates hold on. And it's like, okay, I might need to pack extra clothes because if we're going a little slower, I'm going to be freezing if I don't have these clothes. So it's like, again, not just pack your own fears, but like also be aware of your teammates. So
one of the things we didn't talk about in this that I think is important too is like utilizing the other packing mechanisms that you might have, like a paddle bag, right? Like put stuff in there strategically. That way you're not carrying as much, knowing that you're going to pick it back up at another place. Like maybe pack that ahead of time, because you might get some additional weight there that you take out of your bin that you can throw in somewhere, and kind of prepare that way. Guys, I've really appreciated this because I have learned a lot. I hope that everyone at home has learned a lot. I think that this is a conversation that probably we could have every couple months and have different people on and have different points of view and different things that would be important. So if you're out there watching and there's something that you want to talk about in regard to packing or whatever, let us know. We are looking for ideas to make sure that we are bringing you the content that you want to see, and answering the questions that you have at home. This is all about you. Well, it's about me because I'm learning, but I want you to learn as well. And we're showing here, like, these guys are learning from each other as we go. I hope that you will continue to follow us. We've got an exciting, race coming up in a couple weeks. AR.Watch is going to be providing race updates for Expedition Alaska. We can't wait. It is going to be amazing. It is an amazing course, and I think you guys at home are going to be in for a treat with what we have in store. We'll probably do another AR101 between now and then, and we'll figure out what that will be about. But continue to follow AR.Watch, continue to follow Warrior, follow these two guys, because you can't get, any better advice than just DM them. Hunter might not answer you, but Jesse definitely will.
Well, that's because Hunter's running across the country or something.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably trying to set some record somewhere.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining me tonight. It was a great conversation, and we look forward to seeing you guys out there next time. And as always, continue to get out there and live the adventure. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Right.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Doug. Yeah, see ya.
See ya.